we're going to do an embroidery applique. One of the most popular things I think we do in the store. Number one, because it takes less time. Now, right in the front of your sampler book, there is some techniques that are kind of spelled out in symbols. So this might look a little Greek until you realize and try a design. So for an applique, it's going to show us that we're going to put some fabric down, then we're going to trim out the fabric and let it be included in the embroidery design. There's also information for cut work, for pop-up embroidery, reverse applique, and also in lace insertion border. There's a design in here that you add lace to, and then also thread velvet, which is absolutely beautiful. The thread creates a super soft velvet-like finish because it layers it over and over, and then you slice down the middle and it just sprays out thread and it's just as soft as can be. So when your embroidery design shows some of the symbols, look in the front of your book to see how and which ones you're doing. Okay, so I've picked out design 19. So what you're seeing with fabric here, or the cream, is actually fabric. So none of that is stitched, so it's a really quick stitch design. When I look at the stitches, there's only 6,000 stitches. That's not very much. Now, as you look, there's a couple repeats of this pink color, and in between color 1 and 2 is that asterisk. That's referring to a little symbol from that front part, and you look and see what you need to do. Now, normally when we do an applique, the cut is right afterwards, but as I'm looking further down, the cut's at the end. So I'm going to show you how this is all going to stitch out, how we cut, and then also a few other things along the way that will make this so much easier. Okay, ready to get started? Design number 19 is what we're going through. So go to your start menu, arrow down or scroll down to 19. So you notice it's actually kind of big. So if you don't want it so big, we could do some sizing. You can go to Alt and even reduce the size down a little bit. Maybe I'll do that a little bit. All right. And then also too, because I've already got the other designs on my hoop, I'm going to sew it in the lower right corner. To get it to snap right to that corner, slide it outside your screen and then touch to move into hoop. And it's exactly where I want it to be. Now, go ahead and touch go. We've got the 360 by 200 hoop, so it'll let me go right to where I need to be. One more thing though, I'm really close to some of my other designs, so I'm going to do a quick little check and make sure I'm not going to stitch over them before I start stitching. So as you can see, I've got a design right here, and I'm not sure if this is going to stitch over it. So go over to the design positioning, or basic design positioning. That's a little flower with the arrows. And go ahead and move the arrow or the needle to the upper left corner. Now I am really close to that, but here's the deal. Look at the design. It's a circle. So are we going to stitch in that area? Nope, we're going to be stitching more right here. So when we go all the way around, you can touch all 4 corners and you can see exactly where we're stitching. We reduce the size so we can see if we're going to be anywhere there. If you want to see where the needle is going to be in the center, go ahead and touch the little plus. But we know we're right where we need to be, so touch the green check mark. And now we'll go ahead and get started. So the first part of an applique is only a placement. You do nothing. You don't put fabric in or anything. But once you do get the placement, it's giving you an idea of how much fabric you need to have in your hand. So I just went ahead and cut a little bit larger square that I knew that I needed. And then when it stops, it'll cut the thread. And if you want, you can just kind of slide that out, or else slide your fabric through and slip it out. But now all I'm going to do is just lay this fabric. I don't need to spray it or anything, and just lay it over the whole entire kind of ghost stitch. That ghost stitch is going to tell you, okay, that's the outside of my applique. And now it's going to do that stitch again. Same thing, but with a little bit more stitching usually. So when it went the first time around, it just did a single line because we just need a placement. And this time, it's going to go ahead and stitch all the way around. Notice I got my fingers in here. If I want to go ahead and just kind of keep it smooth, I can. Otherwise, we're just going to let it go around the outside edge. Notice how it's going around 2 times around the outside, because I'm going to be trimming really close to that stitching. And we don't want that stitching to come loose if I nick it a little bit with the scissors. No big deal if you do, but it's kind of nice to kind of avoid that with the double row of stitching that's stitching now. Normally this is where you trim this out, but on this particular design, it's not having me trim it until I get to steps 5, in between steps 5 and 6. So the next color is number 3, it's yellow. It's indicating it's going to do those centers, and then it's going to do the darker part, which is kind of that small little detail in there. So following directions, I'm going to keep on going. Those I'm going to just put on a new color, and I'll meet you at the part where we start to trim this out. For some applique designs, you can just touch the hoop picture here and move it to what is called a trim position. It moves the whole hoop towards you, so watch out, here it comes, and then you can get in here and do all the trimming. The only thing is this is a circle, and it's going to be a little hard to actually trim every angle just while the hoop's all attached, so I am going to actually take it out. But here's another thing. Let me show you another quick one. Let's say you want to, oh, here we go. Look, current stitch position, park position, putting your bobbin in and out. There's a bobbin position. This is all great. So when you touch current stitch position, goes right back to where you were if you wanted to just get it there. If you just go ahead and push the green check mark and push start, it will move it back. But look, there's another way you can do that. This little button with the needle up and down will also move it to your trim position. Isn't that awesome? And then once again, if you just want to touch that, moves it all the way back. So here's how you want to trim for embroidery. So today I am going to take it off. I am still connected to my bobbin thread, so go ahead and trim that out. But when you do trimming for applique, the key is really getting in here and getting super close to your stitches. Now if I just go ahead and trim just with curved embroidery scissors that are really sharp. My preference for embroidery scissors are actually from the Kai Scissor Company, K-A-I, and they are super sharp, and they can get into these little crevices without any trouble. They are curved, so I'm not going to have to worry about trimming or cutting into my base fabric. Now, I'm kind of holding the hoop up so you can see it. What I'm going to do is actually put this hoop on a flat surface and use my hand to lift up this fabric and then come in and trim. You can almost bring the scissors right up to that stitching line. You don't want any part of that fabric showing. Some appliques are very little satin stitch, and so there's not much to cover up these little ones. And this is why I am actually taking the hoop off the machine instead of using the trim position, because to get my hands in this right angle, I like to turn the hoop. And again, doing it on a flat surface works best. I kind of have the hoop kind of nudged under the foot. That wouldn't probably be the ideal way, but for today it is working just fine. And I'm just going to go all the way around until I need to kind of turn it to get a little bit further in. So take your time for trimming. If any fabric kind of sticks out after the applique, it does kind of look a little hairy. You might have to do some little cosmetic surgery to get it to look not so sticky out. But when you have a really good trim job with applique, you really can see the difference on a final result. So we are down to the last color. It's going to go ahead and do that last satin stitching all the way around this design. And we love applique because the fabric becomes the fill-in stitch and you don't have to wait for the whole entire design to fill in, which is awesome. So I will see you at the end of this design, finish trimming, and then start it up again, and I'll show you the result when we're done. Isn't that gorgeous? An applique design, perfectly satin stitched, and because we trimmed really close to the edge, we didn't have anything sneaking out the outside of the stitching. Have fun with applique. Look for the applique designs because they stitch out so much faster.